It's the Digital Drive-In Best of the Year Awards. Garrett, what was your favorite movie this year?
All of them.
All of them?
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of them?
I like movies equally. Movies are great.
Well, Garrett.
Yes.
It's that time of year again.
What time is that? When
Christmas.
I get my period?
Once a year, eh? Damn.
Well,
slow.
I mean,
every
I'm
month
Mr.
you must be
Garrison.
like, shit, I'm pregnant. No. It's time to celebrate a year's worth of films.
Yay! Did you bring
As
the
2018 came to a close over a month ago,
yeah.
the movies, much like pee, still trickled on. And thus, we have finally gotten to see as many movies as possible.
Wow.
Before the Academy, the Oscars, decide what their favorite movie of the year. We're going to decide what ours is first because fuck them, and we're right. Isn't that right, Garrett? We are the definitive answer.
Sure.
So welcome, everybody, to the Digital Drive-In podcast once again. Of course, I'm Alex. I'm joined by Garrett.
I'm Garrett.
Our best of 2018 celebration episode. I'm just going to lay it out how we're going to do things right at the start, and then we'll dive right into, we got lots of air quote awards to hand out today. Lots of great films and not so great films to talk about. Of course, there's two of us here, right, Garrett? So rather than picking a definitive answer, I think we're going to give two films pretty much each award as we go through. One for me and one for you. Sometimes maybe it'll line up and one film is like the sole winner of the award. But for the most part, I think we're just trying to... Okay. I think for the most part, we're just trying to bring multiple perspectives to each award, right? Would you say that?
I think that is fair.
I would say that. So we are both going to get a pick and a winner for each of the categories, unless we have one that align, in which case that'll be the one sole definitive winner. So, Garrett, why don't we dive into our first award? And one that we're just going to brush past really fast. It's the worst film of the year. Starting it off at a low point, because you know what you say? There's nowhere to go. There's no one to go but up. All you do, all upwards.
Onwards and
all
upwards.
You go. Onwards and upwards and inwards. Ooh. Garrett.
Yes.
What was the worst movie you saw this year?
The worst movie of the year, and it's not necessarily the fact that it is like so terribly poorly done. It's the one that made me the angriest watching it, and that is The Cloverfield Paradox.
Mm-hmm. Of course, this film launched at the Super Bowl time last year, did it not?
Yes, and it was available as soon as it was over.
Yeah, and much like I did, I'm sure you rushed to watch it.
I did.
Did you watch it that night?
I did.
So did I. And what a fantastic fucking marketing tool isn't it?
Uh-huh. Just like Seriously. Bird Box.
Highlight of the year for marketing was Netflix and Cloverfield, I thought. Just dropping it like that was fantastic. The movie, however, is not.
No.
Why?
I mean, it was a tenuous grasp of where it was in the universe. It was shoehorned in, and it's one of those rare films that watching it in the series actually makes the preceding films worse.
Yeah, it's an abysmal film.
so hopefully it destroyed the franchise.
It most certainly did.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, because I think it did have a lot of potential, especially after 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Sure.
Which I thought was fantastic. And
I liked it as a film. I didn't like it as a Cloverfield film.
Right.
That's another discussion.
Written by my boy Damien Chazelle.
But The Cloverfield Paradox was not a good film or a good Cloverfield film.
Right.
So,
it was bad sci-fi. Yeah.
What about you? What was your worst?
Well, my worst was for similar reasons, because it just made me downright angry, while I was watching it, and it was Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Of course, this is the second Jurassic World movie and the fifth Jurassic Park movie. And you know what, Garrett? I think I'm so pissed off that I think we should watch Jurassic Park for the next episode.
Okay.
Sound like a plan?
Yeah, we'll make up for all the terrible feelings you have about Jurassic World.
Yes, because Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. Now, I like the first Jurassic World. A lot of people don't, but I do. I have a weird soft spot for it. I don't know why. I feel like it's the Force Awakens of the Jurassic Park series, where it's basically the same thing, but it's good enough that it's whatever. This is just an incomprehensible mess. Fallen Kingdom is just two very, very different films, neither of which are good in their own regards, stuck together. It's full of so much dumb shit. It's really like, I don't want to dive into it because I could be talking about it for 45 minutes, and I'm sure a lot of people listening have seen it too. But there's stuff like a dinosaur winking at the camera as it like distracts somebody before it's about to kill them. It's like, watch this, wink, literally the wink, and then it'll kill the guy. It's just but it kills the guy actually by biting his hand off. The hand falls off on screen, and then he bites the guy's face off. Like, it's a total mismatch of tone and ideas and everything. It's just amazing how far the franchise has fallen away from Fallen Kingdom, away from where it was before. You know, the first one being one of the most perfect films ever made, in my opinion, an endlessly rewatchable classic, and this being just absolutely unwatchable.
Right.
So far and away the worst movie I saw this year, especially in theaters. It actively pissed me off the entire time, and it wasn't even fun. I wish I could say I had fun watching it, like with something like Venom, which was hilarious in theaters, even though it was terrible. It was hilarious. This was not. It was just boring, slog, terrible mess. Boom. See how serious I got with that? I'm pissed. I'm still pissed about this movie.
I can tell.
Anyway, we'll move on to another award. Get off of the worst of the year. Oh, shit, Garrett. I scheduled these all wrong. Next up is most disappointing.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. I figure we'll get all the dirty and bad shit out of the way quickly. Or should we do a good
That's
one?
fine. No, we can do disappointing. That's fine.
All right.
Because
well,
disappointing doesn't necessarily mean, I mean, we can talk about it.
Yeah. And of course, we're going to try to be relatively spoiler free with a lot of these, I think, just because we don't really need to talk about the spoiler in specifics. Sure. I'll start this time. My most disappointing film of the year was Hold the Dark. Hold the Dark was directed by Jeremy Saulnier, who directed one of my favorite films of the last few years, Green Room. He also directed Blue Ruin, which I thought was very, very good. And of course, it was also written by Macon Blair, who is the writer, and he was stars of all of those. Some very talented people behind this. Jeffrey Wright is the lead actor as well. And it was just there were some things that didn't make sense. It was almost too subtle at times. It almost needed to explain a little more. It meandered a little bit. From someone that came off of such a high with Green Room, I think I just expected so much more from whatever the follow-up would be. But apparently the source material that it's adapted from is very, very bad as well, and difficult to comprehend, and would be difficult to make into a film. So I'm really shocked that they Blair and Saulnier tried to adapt it at all. And it's just this, it's kind of boring. It's not very well thought out at times. It has a hell of a shootout scene though. And you watched this one, didn't you?
Right, I did.
Yeah, I think it has a hell of a shootout scene about halfway through. It's masterfully directed. And that's what I wanted the whole time. I wanted that intensity level, but to come from Green Room to something that's almost incomprehensible at times was a little disappointing for me. How about you?
My biggest for the year, which was I actually rated just ahead of Hold the Dark, so I could definitely see the points you're making, is Outlaw King.
Okay.
It's directed by David Mackenzie, which is not necessarily a household name, but he's the same guy who directed Hell or High Water.
Yeah, which is a fantastic movie.
Right, which was in my top 10 or the top 5, I think, actually, for the year.
I think it was my top 5 as well too. Yeah.
And so I was really looking forward to this one. It had Chris Pine in it as well, and it's kind of like a true story about the King of Scotland.
Right.
And the thing is, very similarly, I think it's not that it was bad. It had good cinematography, but the story was just very bland.
Right.
It didn't really like dive into anything. It was more like an episodic recap of like really fastly telling you these are the things that kind of happened, and you have to have seen the previous episode to have any connection because it's just like a
Right.
stating of
But there's no
facts.
previous episode. Yeah.
Right. So you don't really have any of the weight of the characters or anybody to follow or anything. It's just a lot of forgettable scenes one after another. The color palette was really bland too, so nothing really stood out. It just looked overcast the entire time.
Sure.
So it was just, forgettable, generic, not bad. But just after loving his previous films so much, maybe my expectations were
Hey.
just, I wanted to be swept away again. And it was just an average, regular film. It wasn't satisfying after I saw it. So in that case, I felt it was the most disappointing.
Yeah. And for audience, anyone listening, for the most part, I don't think we know each other's choices. We talked about them like 3 or 4 weeks ago, didn't we?
Yeah.
But we don't really know what each other are saying. So it's very interesting to me that twice in a row now, 2 categories in a row, we've had the same reasoning behind different films. One just absolutely pissing us off, and one being from a director we really, really loved the previous work and being let down by their follow-up. I haven't seen Outlaw King, but I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah. I feel like there are way too many movies out there to waste your time.
Sure. Now we'll go to a little bit different of a section. Most overrated film of the year. A film that maybe the critics or maybe the audiences loved a lot more than you did, and you just didn't see the appeal behind it or didn't think it deserved as much love as it got. I took the last one as a lead, so why don't you go ahead and take this one?
This one's probably controversial, considering some people's comments on Reddit. But I'm gonna have to say Black Panther.
It's way better than Suicide Squad.
Oh no, sure, but it's not worst.
Yeah.
We're not arguing worst comic book, movie or anything like that.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not saying Black Panther is not a bad film. I really like Ryan Coogler, the director.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the actors in it. I mean, Forrest Whitaker's fantastic. Michael B. Jordan is fantastic. Not so sold on the main guy, but it's like
right.
And I can't remember the actor's name, so I apologize.
Chadwick Boseman.
Well, yeah, him. But I was thinking like there's the one female like bodyguard.
Right, Danny Guerrero.
She's really good, and then the younger girl, like female doctor, that's like the smartest of everyone. She's really good
Not
too.
the sister, but Lupita Nyong'o's character.
His younger sister.
Okay, yeah.
I don't remember her
Shuri
name.
as played by Letitia Wright.
That's it. I think she's even up for an award or won like an award or something. Yeah. But I think she's I think she's really interesting. She kind of brought a different perspective to it and like just a different attitude, and I thought that was really interesting. So it's like there's some good stuff in the movie, but it's not best picture quality material. It's not create a brand new category of the Oscars for it to win material.
Right.
The special effects in it were very iffy. The storyline to me was very generic. Now, I mean, I think it's cool that there are minority characters that other minorities can look at and say we're finally represented in a film with a big budget. I mean, not that there haven't been black superheroes before, but I understand like this is
on a scale like this, right?
Right, a major motion picture that has a lot of budget behind it and the push from Disney. So I can understand what they're saying, and that does mean something. But at the same time, I mean, there are so many great films from black directors that have a black cast that isn't necessarily a superhero film that I would much prefer be put in with Best Picture because it makes way more sense.
And almost Get Out last year, I think, was one that deserved its spot in the Best Picture race.
Right. So it's just like I'm not saying that there's any kind of conspiracy or anything like that. I just for whatever reason that it is in the Best Picture, I just don't think it is. I think it's overrated from what the type of movie it is.
Sure. And for the record, I do like Black Panther a lot, and I would agree with you that I don't think it belongs in the Best Picture race. I don't even think it was the best Marvel film of the year.
Right. I agree there.
My pick, similar reasons, 3 for 3. Bohemian Rhapsody certainly does not deserve to be in the Best Picture category. Audiences fucking love this movie.
Right.
People love this movie, and it's unfortunate to me that it's. I know a lot of people personally that saw this movie and almost took its events as truth, which is a little scary to me because I think it's a very, very falsified account of Queen's story.
Oh yeah, it's. I mean, not even just that. Just like when they came out with the songs and the chronology of everything's terrible.
It almost doesn't really care about Queen in a sense, which is really bizarre to me. I think there's a lot of really, really good parts in the movie. Obviously, Rami Malek is fantastic. The Live Aid sequence is incredible, and there's a few of the other musical sequences throughout them recording Bohemian Rhapsody. Some of the more music video-y stuff is pretty awesome and well edited, I think. But the rest of it is just this bland, boring, kind of run-of-the-mill music biopic. And, Queen is a band that was not run-of-the-mill. So
yeah, it was not a by-the-numbers band. Yeah.
Right. So for a like you said, by-the-numbers band to get a very by-the-numbers film, I think was a major disservice to the band and to Freddie as well, who I think deserved a better film. And I think Malik, as excellent of a job as he does, deserved a better film.
Right.
That's why I'm excited to see the Elton John biopic next year, is because that's doing something I thought this should have done, which is take a more surreal approach to it, be a larger than life story movie, because it is a larger than life story. So for me, I really don't think that it deserved its Best Picture nomination. It didn't at all deserve its Best Picture win at the Golden Globes. I can understand why audiences love it because it's a fun time. It's very enjoyable, easy to watch, but it's at the end of the day just bland and bad for me. So it was a little overrated for me by audience's standpoint. I mean, it has a 61% on Rotten Tomatoes, and yet it's in the Best Picture race. Right. I don't really understand that. And it was directed by a pedophile, so let's just brush past that and nominate it for the biggest award, right? Whatever.
Well, we've dwelt on negativity way too much, but I mean, now it's out of the way. So what about a movie that you maybe thought was underrated? Do you think I should go first since you just talked, or how are we going to do this?
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
All right. So on the underrated scale, I would like to select "Sorry to Bother You," because it's a great movie that I heard nothing about before I saw it. Right. And I don't really think it's up for any awards.
Nope.
And the director's name is Boots Riley. I guess he's a musician. Yeah. And he was saying on Twitter basically that he didn't see the need to work hard and try to get, plead with them to get his movie nominated. He thought the movie by its own existence should have pushed it into it, and he's not going to play their games. And I can respect that from a director.
Right.
But this is another one where it's a black cast. It's a comedy kind of / drama, but there's so many surrealistic elements and the way the film goes, and you think, well, it's not going to push it any further, and it just keeps going.
It's batshit insane. It really is.
It's amazing to me that this movie got made, to be honest.
Yeah, it's amazing he got the funding to be as just creative as he was. Yeah, I'm using creative as a sort of liberal word there. Yeah,
and to basically, I think the movie is you want to give an example of artistic integrity. It doesn't seem like there was any fingerprints of the studio whatsoever.
It doesn't hold back in the slightest.
Right. And so it's I love that kind of filmmaking. I want more of these types of films to be available so that I can see them as soon as it's it came up cheap and I bought it, and I'm so glad that I bought it, because if I would have just rented it, I would have went right out and bought it anyway. It's it's just that good of a film. It's yes, this has to be in my collection. And so it's if anyone has even an inkling of thinking that it might be an interesting movie to them and they haven't seen it, they definitely should. It's probably one of those films you can watch multiple times and get new stuff out of it because it is just packed full
I
of
would
so
think so
many
too. Yeah.
individual things. Yeah. So it's great, and I can't wait to see what his next film is going to be.
Yeah. Very intrigued for sure. For me, it was a movie I watched a few days ago on a whim. I had heard little bits about Thoroughbreds when it originally came out, but I hadn't really given that much thought to it. It features the final performance of one of my favorite young actors, Anton Yelchin, who unfortunately passed away in, I believe, 2015, 2016. One of those two, the
Something
year
like
that Green Room and Star Trek Beyond came out. This one, for whatever reason, took a little bit longer to come out, but did come out this year in 2018. And it was the film debut, not even just directorial debut, of Corey Finley, a 28-year-old playwright who wrote the script as a play, but was convinced to turn it into a movie despite never having set foot on a film set in his entire life. And the direction in this movie is so incredibly good and full of just raw natural talent that it is unbelievable to behold. And I didn't really hear this movie get a lot of attention, so I really am recommending it to a lot of people. It's a dark film. It's a bit of a dark comedy, kind of in the vein of a Yorgos Lanthimos film, but with a little bit more energy, I almost want to say. And it not that Yorgos has it in a bad way. I'm just saying this movie feels a little more, I don't even want to say light. It's not Yorgos, you know? It's not
Sure.
deadpan and it's not dry. It's like it's a wet version of Yorgos, if I use the wet dry comparison. Because it's very dark, very staccato, very kind of just goes forward, but it moves with such a pace of confidence and it knows exactly what it's doing. It's infectious to watch. It's this very, very fun, even though it's hella dark film that not a lot of people saw, but I think a lot of people should. Again, you're talking about artistic integrity. I think that for a first timer, period, again, it never had worked in the industry at all, to get this kind of full control over his own project is wonderful to see. And also to have this much command over the genre and the medium on your first go around is something I think very, very few people ever hope to achieve, yet alone do achieve. So Thoroughbreds was my most underrated film of the year and something I think everyone should check out.
Nice.
What about your biggest surprise of the year? So we did underrated. Maybe you thought your film that was good, but maybe biggest surprise was something you're like, bah, this can't be good or whatever, but it surprised you and it ended up being a good film. What was your most underrated film of the year? Or fuck, what was what film was the biggest surprise of the year to you?
So my biggest surprise. Sometimes I will, I like to watch a bunch of movies every year, and sometimes I will go on Amazon and be like, I am not interested in this genre. I'm not interested. This film doesn't look interesting whatsoever. I'll
Mhm.
watch it. If it's terrible, I'll be like, that's one off the list. I don't have to worry about watching and move on.
Right.
And so I did that with this movie. It's called Destination Wedding, which, if you know anything about me, like that is completely against anything that, because like romance movies, romantic comedies. Not that I don't like any of them, but they're so far on the list. It's like one of my fewest enjoyed genre, or my
Right.
lowest enjoyed. And it was the second time director. Apparently, he directed an Anton Yelchin film. I just
Aw.
found that. I put that on my to watch list now.
Aw.
But so he's kind of a lower known director, little known, and it was Winona Ryder and Keanu Reeves are in it, and apparently through the whole thing, they're the only two characters that talk. There are other
Right.
characters like in the film, but they're the only two that interact with each other in that kind of a way. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. I'll watch it really quick. I couldn't stop watching it. I watched the whole thing. It was like it was almost like a classic Woody Allen film without all the baggage
Okay.
of the director, and it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I thought there were some really good points. Now I didn't rate it as highly as other films of the year. So, but it's still like made my top 10, and I'm like, I can't believe this silly movie that I
Right.
didn't I think I wanted to watch actually snuck in, and I like really enjoyed myself. So that was my
Sure.
biggest surprise.
Cool.
What about you?
Well, I'm glad you asked. My biggest surprise is a film I continually talked about all year, and Garrett never believed me.
Good Burger.
Yep. But it does start with a G, and it is 2 words: Game Night.
All right.
The most surprising film of the year to me was Game Night, a movie I saw thinking it was just going to be some shitty ass, modern day comedy. And it ended up being a pretty good modern day comedy that is shot directed like, and edited like a thriller. Full blown hardcore. There are some very inventive camera angles in this movie for a comedy, or for any film in general. There's some really unique editing things they do in here, stuff, and in the cinematography as well. Things like using a tilt shift on your camera to make establishing shots look like game pieces, or there's one instance where someone's like hitting a lock from the outside to unlock it, and as they hit the lock and the lock turns, the camera turns with the lock so that it's always like parallel with it the entire way around. There's just this it surprised the hell out of me, and it's just cinematography and editing, which is edited almost like an Edgar Wright film at times as well too. Jason Bateman plays Jason Bateman, which is, you can't get away from that. Rachel McAdams is hilarious. There's a couple of scenes between the two of them that are fantastic, but it was this sort of shocking mix of genres to me, of a thriller and a whodunit and a mystery and an actual just outright comedy, that it was really entertaining to watch. And I've seen it 2 more times now since theaters, and every time it's still just as funny to me, and I think it's going to get continually better with rewatches. It's going to at least stay at that same level for me. So something I definitely wasn't expecting to be as unique and as fun as it was for its genre. Game Night was my most surprising film of the year.
Nice. I still have yet to see it, so.
And I do recommend it if you can stream it somewhere when it comes to any of like Amazon or anything like that. I would check it out. It's a fun little watch. All right, Garrett.
Yes.
Let's talk about what the best action scene of the year was.
I bet we
Let's
have
just
the same
talk about
movie.
Okay, what's the best action movie of the year, Garrett? We're gonna go on 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Mission Impossible
Mission
Fallout.
Yeah, that one.
You have a really long pause there.
Yeah, I know. Okay, how dope was Mission Impossible Fallout?
It was quite dope. It was the dopiest.
But for real though, like what did you think about this movie?
I would say awe-inspiring might even not be too much of a word for it.
Sure. I think it's the best action movie I've seen since Fury Road.
And I think that's fair. I think that's definitely fair to say. There are a couple times where you can tell stuff is CG, but for the most part, I mean, there's a lot of things that is actually done practically, and I love that kind of stuff. And they do a really good job with making sure that yes, in fact, Tom Cruise did do this.
Right.
Was there a scene specifically that you liked?
I really like the bathroom fight.
Yes.
It's just so violent and it's just so visceral, and it doesn't hold back. Every hit, every punch has weight behind it. People being thrown through mirrors it feels powerful. It feels violent. It's one of those so well choreographed sequences, much like the film is full of, that it gripped me and it grounded me in this world, and I felt like the characters. It's weird because that bathroom scene happens maybe 40 minutes in the movie, maybe even a little earlier. I legitimately thought at some point that our main characters could die. Like, they get their ass beat in that scene, and it's gratifying, I think, to watch a film let its heroes get their ass beat. Films don't often do that. I think they're like the unstoppable superheroes, but it was really cool to see Mission Impossible take a much more realistic approach, even though it's still doing things that are very unrealistic and ridiculous. What about you? Is there a specific scene for you?
I would say the helicopter chase scene,
Sure.
which is more towards the climax of the film. The fact that, like, when he was climbing up the rope and then fell down onto the payload, from that height.
Mhm.
That he like really did that, and like how he was climbing on it and trying to get inside. Like the camera angles of that, it's ridiculous. That's you can basically do anything you want in a computer, but nothing replaces the weight and the visceralness of it actually happening.
Right.
And it's just like some of those shots you could just tell, and the cockpit shots too inside, and seeing like the mountains and everything, and the sound design during that was fantastic.
Hmm.
So it's and when you film with those high speed, high definition cameras, you can just tell a difference
Yeah.
in the way that it looks. And I would love to see it in 4K, but
Yeah.
at
So would
the
I.
I don't have. I'll have to wait probably till next tax season to get that. Um,
Got your
you
boots.
know,
Your boots, Riley.
yeah. So I mean, there's really no bad action scenes in it. There's like a running scene. There's a free fall scene. When he's trying to get like oxygen.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
such a badass scene too.
yeah.
All kind of
There's
shot in
this.
one long take.
Yeah. It goes back to the classic like 80s action films where it's like you build a movie basically around action set pieces that you want to do, but it fits in naturally with it.
Yeah. It's the
So
story
it kind of.
secondary to those set pieces.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, I mean, the story's not bad. It's a little conventional if you know anything about like spy movies or whatever. Like you
Hmm.
could see the stuff coming, but it wasn't like it was like poorly done or
No.
like when they revealed the thing, it wasn't like yeah, come on, that I knew what that was. It just wasn't surprising necessarily. But
Right.
it kind of like it takes the best of the Bond movies, the best of the Bourne movies, the best of the Mission Impossible movies, and just kind of like crams them all together.
Yeah.
And it never feels like a long run time, even though it's over 2 hours, right?
It's over 2.5.
Yeah. So I mean, for a movie, to me, that's the classic. Like that's the old like '60s, like The Great Escape, the really big like action
Right.
kind of movies.
Yeah.
It's one of those. It's just a classic one. So
Yeah. I
really good.
agree. Certainly a fantastic action film, and we highly recommend it. Uh, best action scene goes to Mission Impossible Fallout in its entirety. Is it a
So
little early to look forward to next year?
you mean this year?
This year, right? Is it a little early in the show to look forward to this year? You
No,
think?
I think it's good to talk about that, and then we can talk about the best of the best.
Sure. So that was all of our little awards, our bottom of the line awards or whatever. If you're going Oscar talk, that's a little Oscars joke for everybody. And now we can talk about. We can do a little bit of a buffer before we go to our big awards, like you were saying, with our most anticipated film of 2019. You were just talking, so I might as well take the first go at this.
Go for it.
My most anticipated film of the year is by one of my favorite directors, period, who's back for the first time since 2015, Mr. Quentin Tarantino with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This thing's going to be like shitty. It's going to be so good. The cast in this is stacked. It's Tarantino. That's basically all I'm going to say. It's not like we can talk about what we liked about the movie, but it's Tarantino. He's writing it, he's directing it. What more do you need to know? I'm already there. Buddy hasn't made a film since 2015, so I'm kind of excited to see this one. I did see that one in theaters, The Hateful Eight, so it's not like this is my first go at it or anything. But I'm thoroughly excited to see all of these actors play off of each other with Tarantino's signature dialogue, and I'm sure plenty of history-bending action. It's also Leonardo DiCaprio's first movie since The Revenant, so the big comeback kid coming on up. You excited for that one?
I am, but my expectations are tempered.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
I am trying to remember the last time a Tarantino movie was like one of my top movies of the year,
Okay.
and it might be Django was the last.
Oh wow, 2 movies ago, fuckhead.
Yeah, but I mean, how long ago was it? Like 2010?
2012, fucker.
Was it 2012?
Boy.
Okay, so 7 years ago.
7 years.
You know,
Jesus.
I mean, not the Inglorious Bastards or Hateful Eight were bad because I liked both of them, but is this movie going to be closer towards Death Proof, or is it going to be closer towards Reservoir Dogs? I don't know.
Yeah.
I would
Remains to
like
be
for it to
seen.
be. Yeah, a movie with a huge cast of known people. It is so difficult to go into it not thinking, "Hey, there's that actor. Hey, there's that
Yeah.
actor," which is
I
what
know.
I'm afraid with Dune. But anyway, that's a different subject.
Yeah. Well,
So
maybe we'll have to
I
do
would
maybe we'll have
love.
to do a discussion on that movie when it comes out.
Oh yeah, definitely, because I'm sure you'll see it.
Absolutely,
Uh,
day one.
So yeah, I would love for it to be good, and I would like to really be interested in it. And
Wait,
I hope
crush
he
my
does a good
dreams,
job.
fuckhead.
No, my most anticipated is also from a director that I really really like. I think so far he has an unblemished record because he's only done 2 movies. But the third
Boo.
one is Dragged Across Concrete because I love crime movies.
I
I love
hate
it.
this director.
I love S. Craig Zoller. I love Mel Gibson. I like Vince Vaughn when he's playing serious stuff. I love Don Johnson. I already like the soundtrack.
Yeah, a
So
trailer just came out.
so I'm gonna say if this doesn't end up being in my top 10 of the year, I might have to put it on next year's most disappointing or most overrated.
Sure, sure.
So
Of course, we did Brawl and Cell Block 99 a few
mhm.
episodes ago, one of S. Craig Zoller's other films. And his debut film, Bone Tomahawk, was one of my favorite films of 2015. He's certainly a fantastic director.
So I mean, it's one of those things. A director or a creator constantly being at that level is not a very usual thing. There's
Right,
usually, peaks and valleys. So
right.
it's possible that I will be disappointed with this movie and it won't be
Yeah,
as good as I would like it to be. But I'm hoping. I would like for him to hit the trifecta and it be like every single movie that he directs, I have to go see.
right.
So we'll find out with this one.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it as well. When does that
Cool.
one come out?
In like a month.
Oh, cool. Sweet. Once Upon a
Hopefully
Time
it
in
goes
Hollywood
really
comes
good.
out in like August. Yeah,
Okay,
that
so
one,
we'll have
yours
plenty.
isn't coming around here, so
Probably not. Probably not. It's the time you've been waiting for. Boop, 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 boop,
yeah.
boop.
Now the real fucking show's starting. It's like we've reached the halfway point in the show. I think now we're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the films as we go through it as well. I guess we could start with most anticipated, though. Do you have any runners up? Any other films in that category you want to talk about?
Well, hell, I didn't look up anything else.
Avengers. Avengers.
Uh,
This shit's going to be dope. Period. The end. Moving on.
the thing is with Avengers, it could completely destroy
Oh,
the
yes.
cool thing that they put up in the last movie.
Yeah. So it's
And
a
I
really
think it
big
will.
gamble, but you bet your asshole I'm going to be 3 times that weekend.
That's fine. And is there a new Star Wars movie this year?
Yeah.
It seems
End of
like
the
it.
year.
It might be.
End of the year. I mean, I love The Last Jedi, but I'm more excited for Avengers than I am for Star Wars 9.
Right. And I don't care one way or the other. It's done for me.
Sure.
To be honest, it was done for me at Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Like this is
Yeah.
too much. But anyway.
Old man.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Moving right along.
Big award number 1, Garrett. What is it?
Best cinematography.
Do, 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 do.
It looks like we don't have the same film.
Probably not.
Because I can see the first letter.
Okay, I'll fine then, Garrett. What was your pick for best cinematography?
Mine was not only the fact that I thought it had the best cinematography, but it wasn't even a cinematographer. The director himself had to step in because his normal cinematographer was not available. And so I am talking about the film Roma.
Very beautiful film.
The slow pans. So I mean, it's not just the fact that it's the black and white cinematography. I mean, I don't know if it like makes it feel like a classic film, but there's a lot of shots like the very opening shot is the water on the floor and you can see the sky reflected in it and the plane go by.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's a very interesting way to set up the film. And the film doesn't necessarily have these intense moments where you roll right up to somebody's face. The camera's almost kind of at arm's distance length away. And so you kind of it's giving you like a voyeuristic view of what is
Sure.
going on. But then it makes it seem like it's being more objective in its storytelling, so
Yeah.
that you can like just sit back and see everything that's going on and make judgments.
Yeah.
And there's so many wonderful pans, and the way it's almost like the camera is centralized in the house, but then it can actually like look from room to room without having to move more than just
Yeah. It really just rotates almost a lot of the
right.
time.
Yeah. And then some of the very tense scenes, but like you said, we aren't going to spoil anything. But there are a couple scenes where it is more. How would I even say it?
It's more intense
It's more intense. That's a good, yeah.
than your
There's scenes
standard
that are
drama.
more intense, so you're not like constantly on the edge of your seat because a lot of it is a dramatic performance. But there are these things where the intensity ratchets up, and it does those very well. And in
I would
that
agree.
aspect, it almost feels like classical music. It feels like a symphony where it's like
Sure.
you're going through their lives and you're able to see what they're experiencing, and it is the telling of a specific story. And I think the cinematography for this film, above others, seems to really tell that story and really put you in to that place to understand what's going on. And so that's why I gave it to Alfonso Cuarón.
Yeah, well, I hate that movie, so fuck you.
That's fine. What is your pick?
I do like Roma, by the way. That's a good movie. My pick for best cinematography of the year goes to a little movie called First Man.
I've never heard of it.
Um, so this was a film by Damien Chazelle, who of course directed La La Land and Whiplash, two of some of my favorite movies. First Man is different departure from that. It's not about music very much. It's chronicles the Apollo space missions, but more specifically the life of Neil Armstrong and how his life was affected by going to the moon. It's very uniquely shot, I think, for its subject matter. It's a space film that takes a very intimate approach to its characters and to its environment, to its world and everything. Believe it's shot on 16 millimeter film for the most part, in a handheld format. It gives it almost this home movie kind of feel, as if you're watching through the eyes of one of the Armstrong's personal cameras, like you would find old movies in your attic and you'd set them up on the projector and watch it. It kind of has that graininess, that exposure level, that movement speed of the camera and all of that. What it allows for, I think, is a really deeply connective experience. So you can connect a lot more with Neil's emotion, with his story, on a much deeper level, even though he's doing something that's extraordinary. It breaks down and creates him as this ordinary man figure. I think that was really impressive of a choice. You could have just shot this like your stereotypical biopic, or something like Bohemian Rhapsody, where it was just boringly shot, nothing really inventive at all. But I think it was an interesting take to have that, again, very humanistic look. And there's a point, again, without getting into spoilers, where it ditches that completely. The camera shifts to something completely different. The 16 millimeter changes. I'll just spoil that a little bit, to 70, because you've probably seen it if you know what I mean. And it drops that handheld style and does something completely different that fits tonally with the story. And that was one of my favorite sequences in the entire year, was the point where it does switch and where the cinematography goes from being deeply personal and grounding and earth level to something, well, otherworldly, I suppose. That's my choice.
Nice.
I don't know if you like First Man or if you hate it.
Oh, I completely hate it. I think it's
Yep.
garbage.
I knew you would. Best cinematography goes to Roma and to First Man. Moving on, we'll talk about the best score of the year, the best music in film. And
Oh, is that what
who's
that
up?
means? Sorry. I thought the best score would be 69. What? That's Best
quitting.
score would be if you found a Brinks truck unlocked.
Ching! Hey, this for me. Oh, I just spoke, so I don't know if you want to take it.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of these films that have great music. I mean, this was a hard year for me because there's a lot of the top films, or at least films that I consider the top ones of the year, are like really, really good, and there's
Yeah.
not a lot to differentiate them, and so it was like difficult. But I had to put the one on here that I bought the soundtrack to, and I've continuously listened to it since I saw the film, and that's going to be Mandy.
I thought you were gonna pick The Predator.
Gosh. And I didn't even see that movie, so you're the only one that has to.
I did. It was not good.
But I mean, it actually it breaks my heart that this soundtrack could not be nominated
Yes.
because of asinine, stupid rules. And Johansson, right? That's his name,
Yeah.
Johan.
Johan Johansson.
He's no longer with us. This is going to be the last score that was produced under him, and it's haunting. It's amazing. It's like I can feel he tapped into what Panos wanted to get across in the film.
Yeah.
And you can any soundtrack you can listen to without having to see the visuals, and you still get the emotions and you still understand what is being wordlessly spoken to you, is a fantastic soundtrack. And
Yeah.
like this one goes above and beyond. Each character has a motif, and you have Mandy has like delicate strings. There's this little. She's almost like floating by. It's like she's complex, and there's a lot of stuff going on, but she's almost ethereal. She almost isn't all there in existence, and that's really how her character is. She's kind of damaged, and so she's not going to present everything at once.
Right.
And you have that. Then you have the cult leader, who has his own theme, and it's like a guitar riff, and it's a singular note that resonates. So it's like he's going through life with more of a purpose and more of sustain, and he knows what it is that he wants. And it's like as the film drags on, he loses that purpose, he loses that sustain, and he starts becoming more and more unraveled, and that's shown through the music. But then Red, the Nicolas Cage character, has a driving, almost, I mean, it turns into like demonic, but it's almost like a mechanical kind of, because he's the
yeah. You can kind of hear that in like Forging the Beast and all that.
Exactly. And he has that where he's simmering at first. There's something under the surface, and it's just kind of humming there. But as he's agitated and as it's brought up, then he starts to become more and more to the forefront. He's driving. He's going to accomplish whatever it is that he needs to do. And to have that clear characterization, I want to go out on a limb and say I don't think the music has been as intrinsic to the characterization in a film or TV show since Twin Peaks.
Sure.
And I just think that it's amazing what he was able to tap into, and I could talk about it probably way longer, but I shouldn't. So yeah. That's the end of it, but it's Mandy.
Sure. And we did a Mandy cast as well. We didn't talk a lot about the music. Well, we talked a decent chunk, but not in depth like that about it. I think because that gave us a few months, because I've listened to it repeatedly as well. And you're right. You can really get a good sense of the story and its progression just by listening to the soundtrack. And I think it's deeply sad that we'll never hear another Johansson score again.
Right.
Unless there releases unreleased Blade Runner soundtrack, which I'm interested in, but
I would love to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because he also did one of my favorite soundtracks for a few years ago, which was Arrival, which was very spoken words almost the entire time, and sounds and languages and dialogues, which again benefited the themes of that movie. I think he just knows what to do and when to do it. Or his score for Prisoners is very broken down and trapped almost. His score for Sicario is intense and foreboding.
Right.
He's I would go on a limb and say legendary composer at this point for me. He's soundtracked a lot of my favorite movies, and
Sure.
an incredible loss. There's a couple of people that we're talking about on this list, him and Anton Yelchin as well. Is going to come up a little later, and it's just horrible, horrible tragedies. Both of them, tragedies, accidents, and so it's a great score, and it's a very fitting final work. And I agree with you. I'm very sad that it cannot be. It's not eligible at the Oscars because I think it would have. Honestly, it's a weak year. That leads me to mine, which was snubbed at the Oscar for some reason, despite winning the Golden Globe and a lot of other places as well. Again, First Man, Justin Hurwitz's score is melodic and entrancing. He does, like you were talking about with Mandy, a lot of stuff with motifs that connect, like the cinematography, both to the human aspects of the characters and to the otherworldly mission of going to the moon. The Armstrong's theme plays frequently throughout the soundtrack, but is, blown to out of proportion during the moon landing. Because, and I think it's in a sense where it's almost spoken in a way through the music that even during this massive mission, the climax of the story, landing on the moon, Armstrong is only thinking of one thing, and that's his family still. And I think that's a good way, composed through the music and through the Armstrong's motif, to convey those feelings that Neil has. I think that the score does tread a little bit close to La La Land at some times, but that's okay because I like that score too. But it's a great use of the theremin. That's I think why it was one of my favorites. It's a very like alien sound, isn't it?
Yeah, and that was one of his favorite instruments to hear.
Mm-hmm. So to get to hear it in a full-fledged like that, again, it's old, 60s sci-fi kind of, not really sci-fi, but it's got that feel to it, right? It adds that period dating to it. It's another score. Mandy and First Man's are the two scores that I've had on repeat since I watched the films, both I believe around October. I don't remember when we watched Mandy. When was that? September?
I can't remember.
Anyway, had both the scores on repeat the entire year.
Before you did, too.
Yeah, not by very much, but because I watched it right after you told me.
Right.
But I've had them on repeat, both of which I think make great use out of the motifs and, like you said, tell a story or enhance the story and the characters just through simple melodies, which I think is some of the strongest thing a film score can do. Yeah, so Mandy and First Man are our two winners for Best Original Score. Yay! Moving on.
Best Screenplay.
What's a screenplay, Garrett?
Well, some people film by writing stuff down first. So that the actors know what it is that they have to say. No, you don't. I mean, you don't really want me to explain.
No,
what
that's it. I don't give a fuck.
Okay. So, original or adapted, I know that the Oscars actually sectioned it out, but I don't see how that makes a difference, really.
We didn't know.
Yeah.
What was your favorite screenplay of the year?
My favorite of the year is The Favorite. It was not Yorgos who wrote it. It was two other people. I think it might have been adapted from another thing. I can't remember specifically. Maybe I should have looked that up. But anyway,
an original screen.
Okay. I mean, if that's the case, that's even more impressive, I think, because the dialogue in that film is crackling. It is amazing to me.
It's electric.
I mean, yes, you have to pay so much attention to it. It's almost like 30s Hollywood when they were like talking way too fast, and there were like so many jokes. It's almost like a Marx Brothers thing. There are so many jokes. There's so many innuendos. There's so many sly sarcasms and nods of like making fun of the other person. Right. And all of that is included in there. Plus, it's world building. Plus, it's carrying the plot. Plus, there's like different dimensions and complexities to the characters. And that's the thing is like when I would look at the stuff from the Oscars and they're like, best supporting actress or best lead actress, like I almost can't differentiate between them
Right.
because they all gave a great performance. So to me, it's like the script is just that powerful. It's not like one person came in and put the movie on their backs and drove the whole thing. It was like every aspect, every character was knocked out of the park. A lot of that had to do with the way the screenplay was, the way the film was structured, the pacing of it, the way everything unraveled and how we found out about things. And I thought all of that had to do with the screenplay, and it feels different enough from Yorgos's other films to make that notation that him
Mhm.
not writing and directing, he gets a little bit of something different from the film. And
Sure.
I think that's interesting. I'm not saying like I hope that all of his films aren't written by him because I
Sure.
like the stuff that he writes, but I think it gave it a little bit of an extra flavor, and I like the fact that he didn't feel the need to rewrite it himself, but
Yeah.
went with what they wrote, and that's the reason why I added it for best screenplay. What about yourself, sir?
Well, The Favorite was also my choice for best screenplay for all of the reasons you listed.
Crazy.
Ah, it is electrifying dialogue. It fires on all cylinders times, and I think, like you said, it does really benefit the performers to have such great material to work with, and it really allows them to play around to their maximum potential. And there's a lot of really great moments in this movie that are just delivered through dialogue. And it came up with one of my favorite terminology for anything, which is just cunt struck, which is hilarious to me. I laugh my ass off. It's a hilarious script, isn't it? It's funny as hell, even though it's dark, which is classic Yorgos, even though he didn't write it. It's something like, and maybe, I don't know if we have the same best director moving on, but I don't have Yorgos Lanthimos as mine. That's a teaser. But it's great to get to see him, like you say, flex his entire potential as a director, because he gives away script writing duty and he gets to harness all of his directing talents, and I think he's really excels at it in this movie, and he really drives out some of the strongest performances I saw all year out of the trio of leads, I would say. It's great stuff.
Yep, very good.
So The Favorite is our best screenplay winner, and
Dun,
we'll
dun,
move
dun.
on to best performances. Now this is interesting because we chose to do 3 each. There's likely going to be some crossover, at least one. I think we both have on our list. Yeah, so 3 each. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Yeah, I can go first, and we can alternate after
Yeah,
that.
we'll alternate. Yeah, so you say one, I say one. We'll go back and forth.
I'm gonna completely kill the name, so you have to. I'm apologizing for it now.
Well, you say it, I'll correct you, and then I'll
That's
cut
fine.
both out, and you say it right.
This
wait,
is
it Roma? I don't know how to pronounce it.
yeah. It's her first movie. She's not an actress. I mean, she is now, but she wasn't an actress. It was her first film. Yalitza Aparicio.
I think that's close. That's
I
what
mean,
I
yeah,
would say.
it's. I mean, whatever it is, hopefully she will be in so many great movies that I will then learn it from hearing it said so
Right,
often.
right.
She just did such a fantastic naturalistic job in Roma. I mean, it was almost like a Bresson performance where he would hire non-actors to play the lead roles because they would have no way of knowing how to react to something other than how they would react. And
Sure.
it's like that's amazingly pure. And there's so much that is said from her eyes that's not even through the dialogue. It's just like her body language, her look, and especially the things that happens as it goes through. Like I said, we weren't going to spoil any like actual story plot points.
Yeah.
But just does a fantastically super job, and makes everything feel and appear so real on screen that you can't help but like feel for her and understand when the hard times and the good times that she goes through. So it's just I thought it was a fantastic performance.
Yeah, I would agree with you.
What about you?
So my first choice for my 3 best performances is Toni Collette in Hereditary, who does such a great job at conveying such a wide array of emotion, whether she's like screaming at her son or being almost controlled by something else. She really Toni Collette does a great job at displaying the fullest of ranges of emotions I've seen in a film in a long time, especially in a horror film. I think she has one of the best screaming faces I've seen ever. I don't know about you. It's like that. That's that iconic kind of shot almost from Hereditary now, where you got her screaming, and then she screams and screams and screams, and then goes totally deadpan, blank stare. It's at times a hauntingly evil performance. Somehow, it is just this, I think, masterfully done horror role that at times even acts as a little bit of an audience surrogate, as she's kind of walking through seeing all these horrible acts and she's reacting like an audience would, until I think without spoilers, that kind of gets flipped around and changed a little, and she takes on, and I'm really trying not to spoil it because a lot of her performance does come from some of the more spoilery aspects, but such a very wide range of emotion in horror that I don't think we see all too often. And I think it really helped to ground a lot of the disturbing elements into even more reality, which makes them all that more disturbing.
Well, it's interesting that you should pick her because she is also on my list. And for the same reasons of what you said, having the tonal range that she has as an actress. A lot of times in films, you almost have to be a villain to be able to like have fun and to play all different kind of, from calm to maniacal to depressed to angry. And for her being more of a protag, it is interesting to see her get to go through all of these ranges and to try the different things like you said. And I think it's one of the things that holds up the film, because there are some silly things that happen in the film, but she really anchors it. And it's almost, I mean, I almost don't even want to say this, but it's sort of like she gives more legitimacy to some of the feelings of the film in almost the way that like Jack Nicholson does in The Shining.
Sure.
And the fact that like he can completely overact in a scene to where, like, taken outside of the context, it seems completely silly.
Right.
But it's sold so well in the film that it gives you, like, tells you what is going on, and it conveys so much within that performance that there's a reason why it hits the highs or goes to the lows that it does in the performance.
It sells the evil.
Right. And the thing is, like, that had to have been a deliberate response to either the director or what an idea she had for the character or whatever. And all those things in a movie making perspective is very interesting. So that's one of the reasons why both of us found it so compelling, is it's like this is a performer's performance where there's so much nuance and there's so many interesting things going on even in the background of the character, while at the same time going completely over the top and wondering if it's too much, but it just ties all back into the character and the story. So.
Sure.
What about your next one?
I mean, I was the first one to bring up Toni Collette. What else am I supposed to add to the thing you added?
Right,
to?
I know. That's the thing.
My second choice is Anton Yelchin in Thoroughbreds.
Surprising.
This was just such a charismatic performance, and he has very limited screen time, and he owns the hell out of it. It is completely different than any other performance you've seen Anton Yelchin give. Like I said a little earlier, it's such a loss to have this talent just sort of be stripped away and taken away from us before he could, I think, go on to do some of what could have been his greatest work. Because this might be his best performance other than Green Room's. In Green Room, he sells the violence and the tragedy and everything so realistically. In this, he plays like this almost, I don't want to quite say it's at that level of absurdity, but it's bordering like the True Romance character of Gary Oldman, where he's just electrifying to see on screen.
Right.
And, he elevates the two lead actresses, Anya Taylor, or is it Anya? I don't know, Anya Taylor-Joy, who was in The Witch and Split, and Olivia Cooke, who was in Ready Player One. He elevates their two already fantastic performances while he's on screen. And there's one sequence in the film that is so like mind-blisteringly fantastic between the three of them that I don't think it would have been as good if Anton Yelchin didn't like command the scene. Again, electrifyingly unique performance from an actor gone way too soon, and maybe that elevated it a little bit more. But and the movie's still fresh in my head because I only watched it a few days ago. But I did remove previous choices that I had in this category to put him in because it was such a memorable role for me from him, and a very fitting final role, I think.
Nice. Well, my third one might surprise you. It might surprise the listeners if they know anything about me. If they don't, then this might be surprising because they're like, "Why did you pick this?" And to not keep you in suspense any longer, I picked Ryan Gosling, First Man.
What? Really?
Yes.
Awesome.
The thing is,
okay, you hate Ryan Gosling. Let's break this down for the listener here.
Yeah, let's break it down. I am probably what could be considered an anti Ryan Gosling fan. I always think
I'm genuinely shocked. This
yes.
is like when Moonlight Surprise won. This is great.
I always think he's completely miscast. Like when in Drive, I was just like, there's nothing going on in his head. He's not like the anti-hero. It's just like in everything. I always think Ryan Gosling is the wrong guy to get. But in this movie, I could see the depth of his performance.
You gotta be fucking with me.
No, I'm serious. He got what was so special about Armstrong. It's like he knew the variances. He knew when to be serious. He knew when to show he was calculating something in his head. He knew when to show that there was something going on, but he wasn't going to tell. He knew when to tell something.
Huh.
It's like when his wife was like saying he never talks about our daughter. And then at one time when he's just like walking out in the yard with his friend, he mentioned something about it. And you could just tell from the way that he said it was like, wow, this guy's starting to open up. He actually said something. It's like that's his way of getting closer to this guy, or to show this guy, you're actually my friend, I actually care for you. And there are so many little things, like a little bit of a smirk on the side of his face when he says something, or when he's determined. It's like Gosling finally showed that he had a range of playing this character. And I don't know if it was like he studied really hard about it, or if it was because he met the people and knew what the character should be, or if it was just the character that he finally like completely understood and got, or maybe he's slowly getting into being a good actor. I don't know what it was, but it's like in every scene I was just bowled over by the fact that like he got it, he understood the scene, he was conveying it without words to what the character was supposed to be, and he didn't waver from that, and it was like consistent all the way through. And I would love to give him an award for finally figuring it out and doing it right and being the kind of actor that I would love for him to be.
Nice. I'm genuinely still surprised. I knew you liked him. I just didn't think that you were gonna give one of your three. I thought you were gonna pick Viggo.
No, and I mean, and that's the thing, is there are so many great performances this year that could have gone to other people, but it was like I think that Gosling's acting actually carried the film more so than the direction. But that's just like my perspective of it. But cool. Well, so what about your last one?
Congrats to Ryan Gosling for finally breaking Garrett. Awesome. For the record, I do love Gosling's performance in First Man as well. I think it's fantastic. He's not my final choice, though. My final choice is Steven Yeun in Lee Chang-dong's Burning. Now, I won't spoil all too much, because let me just say, if you haven't seen Burning yet, it's quite the wild ride. I don't even want to kind of break down the film in the slightest, because I think it's best experience to go fully blind into it. But it is a South Korean drama where this guy, Jong-soo, meets a girl who once lived in his neighborhood, and they reconnect and they meet up with each other. She asks him to look after his cat while she goes to Africa for a little bit. And when she comes back with another friend, Ben, played by Steven Yeun, who you may know as Glenn from The Walking Dead, but doesn't speak an ounce of English in the movie. It is a South Korean film, so even though he is, I think, an American actor, he doesn't speak any English at all in the film. But it's just such a nuanced, and I'm really trying to be light on spoilers for this one. Because I highly recommend it, and I really want you to. It's a very nuanced performance. Ben is kind of this mysterious character. You don't really know who he is. He kind of just shows up, and I think the film does a very good job at keeping that character shrouded in mystery, which, as I looked into it a little, was all on Yeun. Was allowed to decide the full sort of range for his character. He was let loose, essentially. He was given the script and was told, just perform it as you want, almost. So he brings a lot of personal roles to it. You may have also, Steven Yeun was in Sorry to Bother You as well. But highly recommend this movie, if nothing else, specifically for this performance. There's one bit of acting that is great. And you can tell I'm really trying to be light on the spoilers, because I do want you to watch this, and I do recommend this film. But it's such an incredibly nuanced and mysterious and full-bodied performance that I think especially once I learned the story behind it, of him getting free reign and full control, it gave me so much more respect for Yeun, much more than I already kind of had, him being my favorite Walking Dead until he's got his brains bashed in. But
spoilers. It's
Walking Dead. I don't give a fuck. That's it for me on that one. Highly recommend Burning. Again, if for nothing else, just for Steven Yeun's performance.
Well, it comes out on Blu-ray in 2 weeks.
It should be cheap, because I think it's $16 in Canada on Blu-ray. So
well, it's $17.58 right now, but it looks like it should be one of those that goes down.
Yeah.
Because it's well go. So that
long film, 2 hours and 50 minutes. No, 2 hours and it's 150 minutes. But worth watching.
Oh, it was like 2.5. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So congratulations, I guess, to Yalitza Aparicio, Toni Collette, Anton Yelchin, Ryan Gosling, and Steven Yeun for our best performers of the year.
Bye-bye.
We only got 2 more to do as we're sort of getting to the final phases here of our awards. Garrett, what was the best directed film of the year? Who was the best director of the year for you?
Yorgos Lanthimos, The Favorite.
For you.
For you.
Sure.
It's
why?
Because, I mean, depending on who it is you talk to, I mean, like, what is the director's duties? It's like bringing everything together,
Right.
So some directors do make final decisions and they're involved in the editing, but it's like you can't just hire the best cinematographer and then that be it. It's like you have to know where to put the camera and how to have your actors do the performances. And Yorgos has a thing to where it seems like he has a style that runs through his films, even though his films can be about completely different subjects and a completely different genre, that still is like quantifiably his. And this movie has stayed that way. And the thing about The Favorite is it's a period piece, and I could say it's probably in my top 2 or 3 period pieces of like the modern era.
Sure.
It's like Barry Lyndon, The Handmaiden, and The Favorite are the ones to me. And anytime you can elevate yourself to be with Park Chan-wook and Stanley Kubrick, I mean, you're doing a fantastic job at that point. So it's just that's everything. I didn't think there was one weak moment of the film. I didn't think there was one weak element of the film. It was strong across the board, and so to me, as the director is the one that is credited for that because he's the one looking after all the big details and all the small details. So
Sure.
and all of the Lanthimos films I've seen, I've liked all of them. So.
Yeah, I would agree. He's one of the best modern directors right now.
Yeah. What about you? What do you think the best director, or who did you pick?
I thought that the best director of the year was, frantically goes to search up their name, Ruben Fleischer for Venom. Ha got him. Nope. My choice was, of course, Alfonso Cuarón.
That's fair.
This film is, I think, the epitome of a passion project, especially this year. Mm-hmm. This feels like something that he birthed. Obviously, he directed it, wrote it, did the cinematography, produced it, edited it, and probably did some of the sound design and stuff like that for it. It is pure auteur cinema at its finest. He was able to just tell a story, his way, far and above. Like, this is 100% his baby, basically, which I thought was what made him my favorite director of the year. Was that it's so rare, I think, that we see a film that is so, I guess, relentlessly passionate, I guess is a good way to describe it, where it's like you can tell the love he had for every single regard of this film and how it infected each and everybody around him and the cast and the crew. I thought that Guillermo del Toro last year had something like that with The Shape of Water, where you could feel it was like something he birthed himself. It was just, it couldn't come from anybody else but him. I think it's Alfonso at his finest. I think it's him at his most channeled, at his most mature. He does a lot of really interesting things we talked about in the cinematography and even in the performances, where he casts it and he shoots it almost like something like Bicycle Thieves, where it feels like that old neorealism kind of stuff. And I think it's very, very rare that we get something, like I said, that is so focused and a singular vision from a singular person. That was why I think he was the best director of the year for me.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of film that I could see like being in the Criterion Collection.
Mm-hmm. And it probably will be one day, I think.
Right. I hope so. I would like to own it.
I would love to own it. It's a Netflix original, so we literally can't right now. I would love to own it in its highest possible degree.
Yep.
It's a truly wonderful thing. So congratulations to Yorgos Lanthimos and Alfonso Cuarón for becoming our best director of the year. Boop, boop. Oh, Garrett.
Yeah?
Oh, shit. It's time.
It's time
to take a pee break. I'm kidding. But first...
Yeah, I was going to say, really?
It's the moment you've all been waiting an hour and...
And they could have just looked on Letterboxd and saw what...
An hour and 20 minutes for. You've waited. You've come all the way here, however long it's been once this edit is done. It's here. It's time for Film of the Year. Bum, bum, bum. In classic Oscars fashion, we have a list, do we not, Garrett, of films we nominated for Film of the Year. Shall we go through that list?
We do?
Yeah, remember? The nominees for Digital Drive-In's Film of the Year are some we talked about and some we did not, just so you know. Avengers: Infinity War.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, okay.
The Ballad of Buster Scruggs. The Favorite. First Man. Hereditary. Mandy. Mission Impossible: Fallout. Roma. And Spider-Man: Into the Spider-Verse.
I wonder who that one was.
Fuck off. Well, Garrett, we don't have that much time. I was thinking about breaking down each of these movies, considering they're some of our favorite movies, but I feel like that's a whole podcast on its own.
It is.
So, who wants to go first? Do you want to flip a fucking coin?
It doesn't matter. I mean, I can go first since you talked all that.
Heads or tails, bitch?
Tails.
All right, you're going first.
Jeez.
I
Or you
literally
can
just flipped it.
Yeah. So my best picture is Mandy, which never in a billion years would anyone ever choose that. And I know it's not the consensus of the audience, but fuck you, it's my best picture. I mean, Mandy was actually one of the earlier films I saw. I saw The Favorite, I saw Roma, I saw Green Book, Mission Impossible, Avengers, all that other stuff. I can't remember all the ones you said.
I didn't fucking say Green Book, dickbag.
Okay, well, whatever it was. I saw all those after Mandy, but Mandy just like stuck in my head. Like I could not get rid of it. It's everything I want in a movie. And we already did a whole podcast on it. So if you really want to hear everything I have to say about it, or some of the things I have to say about it, but I mean, it has all the stuff. It has ambiguity. It has action. It has driving score. It has interesting characters. It has interesting performances. A visionary director, and like I even would say a genius director, and I don't throw that word around lightly.
Yeah, you only call me a genius.
Yeah, but I think it's sarcastic.
Ah,
Um, it's one of those things where like after I saw the film, I couldn't sleep because my
right.
brain was so active and thinking about all this stuff. And it's like even now, I haven't watched it again. I wanted to watch it again to see, do I
So did
still
I.
really think it's the first one? But it's like I almost don't have to watch it again, even though I want to, because it's all so fresh in my head.
It's so memorable.
So fresh. Sorry.
Always fresh.
So
Always
for those reasons and more, I there are so many other films that are also like as deserving, and I really have a hard time. I could probably swap out my top 4 movies to be my number one. So
Sure.
it's not like there aren't other things that it's just this is a really good year for top heavy films for me. But I just at the end of the day, if I have to say just one, then I'm going to have to say Mandy.
Very good choice. And please go listen to our Mandy podcast if you want to hear more about it. We break it down in full, or a little over an hour, and it's a great film. I highly recommend it. Very weird stuff, but like brilliant, like you said, genius, very inventive. My choice for film of the year is one we didn't talk about at all, the entire cast, but I'm going to talk about it right now. And this film is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
No kidding.
I am a big Spider-Man fan. I kind of grew up watching reruns of the 1967 TV show, which is awful, but it is awesome. It is amazing. And, so many memes come from that. And yet from there, I also grew up watching the Sam Raimi films. They were actually my first introduction to Sam Raimi. I was like 6, 7, 8 growing up with them. But basically, Spider-Man's been a big part of my life for a very long time.
Sure.
Him and Batman are my 2 top superheroes. People who kind of like, I don't want to say molded ideals, but they did, sticking up for what you believe in, just being responsible, helping out those around you. There were a lot of, in some degree, morals and lessons that I was taught while I was growing up from these things, from these heroes. I didn't even really read comics growing up at all. I watched the TV shows, I watched the movies, and that was about it. And then to see now Spider-Man be run into the ground is awful for me. I hated Amazing Spider-Man. I hated Amazing Spider-Man 2 even more. Spider-Man Homecoming was awesome and a really good return kind of to form, but it was still lacking, I think, something. I think an overabundance of Iron Man held that film back. There is none of that in Into the Spider-Verse. It is pure Spider-Man. It is everything that I wish I saw really growing up. I think we both talked about it off air, where if one or me or both of us saw this when we were a kid, it would probably be our favorite movie of all time.
Yeah,
It is
that's fair.
just so inventive for its genre, both animation and superhero genre, that it is able to seamlessly blend so many different types of Spider-Mans while telling this complicated story in an easy to understand way. It's a kids movie that does not feel like a kids movie in the slightest. I think anybody can and should enjoy this thing. There's so many different styles of humor, from your dark humor of Spider-Man Noir to your more Looney Tunes-esque humor of like Spider-Ham. Brilliantly played by John Mulaney, by the way, which is hilarious to me.
Well,
I
and
think,
Noir is Nicolas Cage.
and yeah, Noir is Mandy, star Nicolas Cage. So, there's a little bit of a similarity there. Two picks, I guess, but it's so much goddamn fun. This movie, I've seen it twice. I saw it twice in theaters. I'll be buying it when it comes out on Blu-ray to watch it again. I think it is far and away the best animated film of the year. My favorite film of the year. The best animated film I've probably seen since Wall-E, if not ever. I'm trying to think of one that I think is far and away better than this. It is so unique. It was like seeing Toy Story for the first time. I think its art style is one of a kind, and that's really what I could say about the film. Is that it is fun, it is exciting, it's emotional, it teaches the lessons I was taught as a kid, and it brings them to a new audience. I think it does wonders for representation. Strong female roles with Spider-Gwen, and African American roles with Miles Morales, whose line, like, I'm not the black Spider-Man, I'm Spider-Man, I think
Right.
drives home the themes of anybody can be under the mask. It's just a matter of having the heart to be a hero. I think it's very unique film, and Mandy was in my top 5, but I didn't see anything that shocked and awed me this year like Into the Spider-Verse did and continued to do the second time I watched it, and even after I saw plenty of other films past it.
Cool.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Bada boopy.
That about does it. Is there anything else you want to talk about for the year? I know this is a little long.
I think it's hilarious that we both picked something that's not actually nominated for Best Picture.
Yep. Well, that's about the way it goes. What was my...
Sure.
Well, I did have Best Picture nominated last. My favorite. With Call Me By Your Name, if we exclude Twin Peaks, I mean. But...
Which I wouldn't.
It is a movie. But in 2016, I've had a Best Picture nominee since 2013. So yeah, I think it is interesting this year we don't have one. But I also think the Best Picture nominees were a bit of a sham this year, with the exception of 3. I think half of the Best Picture nominees are good choices, which are like Favorite, Roma, and Black Klansman. I think are the only ones that really are Best Picture worthy. But what do I know? Any other things, films, anything you want to talk about as a little bit of a wrap up at all, or you about done?
No, I mean, I think I'm done with you. I mean, if people want to see what we formulate throughout the year, we do leave links to our Letterboxd and our Twitter.
Oh, of course, always down below. You can follow us there on Letterboxd, and maybe we'll have links to our full ranked of the year in this one too. You can check out where we ranked every single film we saw this year. Yeah. Okay. Well, that'll about do it then, eh?
Yep. Bye.
So congratulations to Mandy and Into the Spider-Verse, our 2 Best Picture winners.
We're so nerdy.
We're so nerdy. They really are. They really are just fucking weird choices, aren't they?
It's like, I'll do a comic book film. I'll do a film of 2 people with chainsaws fighting.
Man. Well,
I'm gonna go
we're
snort some cocaine off
now.
a knife.
Oh gosh.
Let the tiger loose.
Oof. Well, in that case, congratulations to all our winners, in air quotes, as this isn't like official awards show or anything, but
Yeah,
we
we're not
hope you
gonna send
enjoyed. I'm not fucking sending you shit. But I hope you, audience, if you stuck with us this long, enjoyed listening to us ramble about
what's
our
wrong
favorite
with
stuff
you?
this year. I think we had a good time talking about a lot of the good stuff that came out this year. This year is getting a lot of hate of being a shit year for film. I agree to some degree, but I do also think it did have a lot of very good standouts. So, yeah, that's it. That's all. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find us here at the Digital Drive-In every single weekend, where we talk about our favorite movies, what we love about them, what makes them so great. Next week, we'll be taking a look at the Steven Spielberg classic Jurassic Park. A bit of a warm down, bit of a reboot, I guess, after these past few heavier weeks. We're going back to a little bit more of an easygoing watch of a film, and a film we both love very, very much. I can't wait to talk about it either. Of course, you can follow Digital Drive-In at digital_podcast on Twitter. You can follow me at Alex's Reviews on Twitter, or Garrett at Garrett Donardo on Twitter. You can follow both of us on Letterboxd by following the links in the description below or going to the website and searching it. And I believe that's all the plugs I have to do.
Well,
we're also on YouTube now. Yes, you can take a look. The link again will be in the description below. It's also on our Twitter. It's also, I believe, on both of our Twitters. And if you follow my list on Letterboxd at all, the links are in there as well. Because it might be kind of hard to find the channel if you just type in Digital Drive-In, but that's what we are on YouTube as well, just on Digital Drive-In. But you can listen to all of our stuff there as well, as we kind of take a look at examining moving forward into a new format. Kind of YouTube is something we want to look at. We want to look at moving off of our current host platform, and
you're gonna throw all that shit out there,
and look at expanding ourselves into something a little bit more standalone and stationary.
I'll eat the donuts
because we want to have we want it to be expansive. We want to have the freedom to make more than just this podcast. So we're looking.
We want to poop in our listeners'
I would love
mouths.
that. We're looking for R. Kelly, me bitch. We're looking forward to the future, and we hope that you are there with us. So here's to 2019, Garrett. Here's to a good year of films, and it's going to be a hell of a year, I think. A lot of good stuff coming out.
It better be.
Thank you again for listening.
Or you're in big trouble.
Bye.